Now I will read the information on the page that is the chart that you see there on the screen. The created universe of matter is the result of concentration of mind upon the ideal of form, and then the generation of power by diverting low potential into centripetal vortexes in order to hold the idea of mind into the appearance of form until form disappears through mental decentration. And another part says, the universe of matter is a registration of the energy expanded by mind in the effort of thinking. The exact energy of the action of thinking is registered in the electropositive charging systems, and the reaction of the action is registered in the electronegative discharging systems. The charging systems are electrically dominated, centripetally closing, contracting systems. The discharging systems are magnetically dominated, centrifugally opening, expanding systems. The low potential speed time dimension of energy of the highest octave is gradually accumulated into the high potential power time dimension of the fifth octave. When these two opposing dimensions equalize in the 10th octave, the cycle is completed and begins again. And this is a diagram of the 10-octave cycle of integrating and disintegrating light units into atomic systems called the elements of matter. Okay, now to take up where I left off before. The one universal substance first divides itself into the appearance of two opposite states of motion, which register as positive and negative elements. Then two more opposite elements appear. Then two more opposite elements of increasing potential and harder crystallization appear. The cosmic pendulum then forms one element which registers itself as neither one opposite nor the other, but is equally of each, a bisexual element of maximum opposition in all periodicities of motion. These 7 apparently different substances are but different states of motion of the one substance. They are the 7 tones of an octave, and there are 10 octaves of 7 tones each. In the last 4 octaves are many mid-tones, each one registering its own state of motion. Man calls those various states of motion of the one substance by many names, and they appear to be many substances. The apparent difference between the many is due solely to difference of motion and not to substance. Many states of motion are possible, but there are not 2 substances in the universe. All states of motion are measurable and are under the absolute control of mind. As man is mind, man can, with dawning knowledge of cause, change any one state of motion into any other state of motion, and by so doing transmute any one substance into any other. The granite rock may become gold or radium at the will of man. The next chapter is called the 10-octave cycle of the elements of matter. The 10-octave cycle of the elements of matter. The 10-octave cycle begins and ends with an absolute equalization of all dimensions of motion. Its beginning is its ending. Creation is continuous. There is no beginning and no ending. The entire 10-octave cycle is merely an orderly and periodic interchange of dimensions. At the beginning of the cycle, time dimension, which is then preponderant, transfers its state of motion into power dimension, which in its turn becomes preponderant until it is overtaken by time dimension. High power is accumulated time. The elements of matter are the accumulation of the speed dimension of the universal constant of energy into power dimension. The effort of electricity to accumulate power at the expense of time is continuous but spasmodic throughout each tone in the 10-octave cycle. There are 10 successive efforts, hence the 10 octaves. Each octave is a separate and complete sequence of inhalation and exhalation, and the entire 10-octave cycle is one inconceivably extended inhalation followed by a similar exhalation. Each octave is a separate effort for supremacy made by the two opposing forces. During the first 5 octaves, the power dimension of the universal constant gradually conquers one time dimension by a decrease of radioactive emanations in proportion to the increase in endothermic generoactive power of charging by absorption or accumulation of potential. Carbon in the 5th octave, 504 with 2 plus signs, is the endothermic dividing line of the cycle. It is the point where the cosmic billion-year inhalation of the cycle gives place to an equally majestic exhalation of another eternity in duration. Carbon is the point of maximum orbital velocity, which creates the illusion of hardness. It is the point of maximum integration, highest melting point, most perfect in cubical crystallization, most compact in crystallization, and most truly bisexual of all the elements. From carbon to the end of the cycle, there is a gradual conquest of power by the other time dimension, and an increase in radioactive emanations in proportion to the increase of the exothermic power of discharging accumulated potential. The law of the expression of energy in motion for the entire 10-octave cycle is the same as the law for 1 octave, or for 1 tone, or for even 1 inhalative exhalative pulsation. Each octave is endothermic, heat-absorbing, contractive, generative series of electric actions, followed by an exothermic, heat-emanating, expansive, radioactive series of magnetic reactions. Each of these series of actions and reactions is of the others. More than this, each is of the others both simultaneously and alternately. The first 5 octaves are therefore male, or electropositive, in preponderance, and the second 5 octaves are female, or electronegative, in preponderance. The law of repetitiveness in all effects of motion is illustrated by the comparison of the cycle of the elements to the life and growth of man. The first 5 octaves may be likened unto the birth, childhood, youth, and growing strength of that evolving ideal of mind called man. The last 5 octaves are the decline into apparent dissolution of the ideal of man into that state called death, at which point the state called life once more begins. Every ideal of mind evolves and devolves by the same formula as that of the locked potentials of the 10 octaves of integrating and disintegrating matter. This is the law of growth. This is the orderly periodicity of those phenomena of nature which are called life and death, and are spoken of as though they were 2 separate things, instead of one unit composed of a plus action and a minus reaction of an orderly and inevitable periodicity. Life is merely an expression of the generative power of centrifugal force, to which death is but the degenerative reaction. The beginning of the cycle of motion is maximum in one time dimension, which means speed, and minimum in its power dimension, which means potential of energy. Speed means the quickness with which a state of motion can reproduce itself, and by so doing communicate that state of motion to the entire universe. Potential of energy means that state of motion of the universal constant of energy in which time dimension has been accumulated by deceleration of speed into